Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. I am just Mike. You are watching and you are listening to episode number 24 of the Rock On Wild Show. If you are new to this video and if you are new to this channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below this very video. You can also like this video, share episode 24 of the Rock On Wild Show, and spread the word. Tell everyone from your family, your friends, your co-workers, your enemies, the people around you. Tell them all about the Rock On Wild Show. As you see from the title of this very video, I'm going to do a little thing on self-reflection. I found a website that was posted around late March of this year, and it has to do with an app that has to do with self-reflection, but I'm mainly going to go through the article. I'm going to go full therapy session for episode 24. And I might do some episodes like this where I go over a topic that has to deal with some sort of life lessons and things of that nature. And this is one of them. And this is where it starts. So self-reflection, I'm going to go over what is self-reflection and the steps and all that sorts of stuff. Also, the usual stuff like on this day for June 11th. Now, as of this recording, it is May 26, 2025, but this will be aired on Wednesday, June the 11th, 2025. So I am going to go over on this day in the world of movies and television, plus wrestling, some music, and if I'm lucky, that's if I'm lucky, I'll get into some sports, but that is a big if. With all that being said, the kickoff of this very episode, I am going to react to an old movie review of mine, a movie review called Begin Again. So I am going to start the camera, and I will wave to everyone that is watching and listening to this right now, and I'm going to present, share screen, Begin Again movie review. Make sure the audio is on, and let's go full screen on this. And it looks like I have my guitar in hand. I think I know why, because this movie Begin Again has to deal with music. Like a lot of it is music based. So let's react to my old movie review for Begin Again. In 3, 2, 1, action. So you're probably wondering why I'm holding a guitar right now. I don't know, 'cause it's fun? Ooh, that's out of tune. Hey, what is up? Again with the creative intros. All movie fans in the movieverse, welcome to the Mike McRack Movie Review YouTube channel. Right now I'm going to talk about a movie that was only out for a very short period. It was a limited release at our theaters, and it just recently came out on Blu-ray DVD. And that's a movie called Begin Again. And what this movie is about, it's about two people, a producer and a singer-songwriter, who just happened to be right in the same place in the exact same moment. You know, it's one of those coincidence things where fate stepped in and the right two people met. So basically, this movie is about one big coincidence. At that right moment. I know, it has a cliche, but with that cliche aside, wow, this was an excellent, feel-good, uplifting movie. Yeah. This movie stars Mark Ruffalo as this producer, and he's very drunk, and he's rough around the edges, and he is a bit of an asshole at times, but he's also very charming, and I like when Mark Ruffalo plays these type of roles, and he was great in his performance as this producer. And what I like is that there's so originality when it comes to the mind of a producer and how the director used it on screen. There's a scene where he's looking at Keira Knightley singing, and you see things starting to pop in his head, boom, boom, boom. The way it showed on screen, you saw the invisible hi-hat and someone invisible playing the piano and the violin and all that stuff. When it comes to originality, it's off the charts, absolutely amazing. Even the relationship between him and Keira Knightley, and Keira Knightley was the singer-songwriter who really didn't want to be signed in the first place, but kind of, it was one of those situations where, things happen and then she goes, okay, I'm going to sign. So with that being said, the two of them start to develop a relationship, and it was really an odd pairing with these two because they have two different backgrounds, but once they connect, they have one goal in mind, and that is to produce and sing and write really good music. And I'm not talking about pop music that's recycled from Justin Bieber, Nicki Minaj, them artists. No, it's not like that. It's real music, like Norah Jones, the type of music, the lighthearted. And what I like is that the music throughout this movie actually fit the tone of the movie because it was, that kind of light music. So
yeah, so it's basically, I think, if I'm not mistaken, this movie revolves around adult contemporary type of music, like I mentioned, Norah Jones, and probably some of those like early '90s solo female artists like a Sean Colvin or a Paula Cole, something like that.
So there were a lot of elements going on here that were really, really great. And like I said, the pairing, the chemistry was there. It felt very natural. It felt organic. And there's also a father-daughter relationship here as well. Yeah, Mark Ruffalo and Haley Steinfeld.
Oh, Haley Steinfeld.
They have their story going. He's struggling to be a father, etc., etc. Yeah, you know the story there. Even if you've never seen it, you get the idea. And that's another thing that really felt natural and organic was the relationship. You cared about this father and daughter relationship as much as you cared about this singer-songwriter and producer relationship. And there's also another relationship going on, and it's with Keira Knightley and Adam Levine, and he plays, this.
Oh, for God's sakes, Adam Levine is in this? Oh, great.
Guy who is a bit of a dork.
I should give this movie a big fat 0 just because Adam Levine is in it, but I doubt I will.
At first, but then, he gains fame and fortune and he falls in love with it. He falls in love with the glitz and glamour, and he looks at people like their aunts, and then of course, the two do talk to each other again in the movie. And I thought their romantic relationship was actually not half bad. I was skeptical on Adam Levine in this movie. I really didn't think much, but he proved me wrong. I thought he was really good in his role. And it wasn't, he wasn't outstanding. He wasn't bad. I'm glad that he was a really good actor. And I kind of didn't expect that out of Adam Levine. So that was really surprising to see. And what I also like about this movie is how this presented on screen. Everything just felt natural and organic. And there was real good comedy moments that felt good. There were a couple of dark moments as well that they did touch on a little bit. And what I also like about the movie is that it was so well written. It's really hard to pick apart this movie. Yes, it does sometimes have its cliches, but you kind of don't know where the story might lead. It goes one place here and another place here. And with a really good ending as well. I like how they used the shots at the end credit scenes, just scenes that really weren't necessary to put as a full screen, but as little screens as the end credits were going. I thought that was a nice touch in this movie. My only other little complaint is that it's probably a little bit too short. Maybe, maybe 5 or 10 minutes would have been nice to see. Something to play out more. But other than that, I really enjoyed this movie. Yes, the pacing sometimes kind of left me in and out, but only for a very short bit. It wasn't much of it. So I never really had a lot of issues with this movie at all, and I'm going high to rate this movie. I'm giving this 92 points out of 100.
Whoa.
It's a good,
That's
uplifting
surprising.
movie, and it touches on human redemption, and there's a lot of great comedy, and I'm also glad that they didn't develop the relationship between Keira Knightley and Mark Ruffalo as a romantic relationship, because it wasn't about that. It was about the music and the love and the passion that they have for music. And that was the big plus coming out of this movie. And if you saw Begin Again, what did you think about it? Feel free to chime in and comment below and tell me what did you think about that movie. And also you can hit that subscribe button down below this video to get McRocked.
Yeah, so that was my review for Begin Again, a movie that I haven't seen, I don't think, since I seen it over 10 years ago. So that is a movie I actually wouldn't mind checking out again, mainly because Mark Ruffalo is in it, Haley Steinfeld, Keira Knightley's in it. And somehow, surprisingly, I praised Adam Levine in this movie. I have no idea how, but I did. And I went high. I went pretty high for this rating, 92 out of 100. That is surprising to me. So this is a movie I wouldn't mind checking out again, just for the story and for the acting and how the movie was done, based on how they inserted some of the music aspects, like I mentioned in this review. So yeah, that's my take on my own movie review for Begin Again. And let's do some of the things that we usually do on the Rock on Wild show, and that is a look at On This Day for pop culture again. Yeah, that is something I'm going to do again. On this day for June the 11th for pop culture. I'm going to do June the 11th on this day for music as well as wrestling. And to kick things off, let's do movies and television. So I'm going to share screen. And let's look at what happened on this day for June the 11th for movies and TV. So we start here. In 1892, the Limelight Department, one of the world's finest film studios, is officially established in Melbourne, Australia. In 1927, Noel Coward's stage comedy, The Marquise. If I'm not pronouncing that correctly, feel free to leave the correct pronunciation in the comment section. And it stars Marie Tempest. And it closes at the Criterion Theatre, London, after 129 performances. Here I am. Let's go down to 1928. Alfred Hitchcock, one of my favorite directors. His silent film, Case of Jonathan Drew or The Lodger, is released. Wow, he done movies in 1928. That's how far back he goes. 1947. Parallel Christmas film Miracle on 34th Street, starring John Payne and Maureen O'Hara, directed by George Seaton, is released. In 1953, Amos, an A&D TV comedy, also radio from 29, last aired on CBS. In 1961, Winston Churchill last airs on ABC TV. In 1962, Julian Carroll at Carnegie Hall, music comedy variety television special with Julie Andrews and Carol Burnett, premieres on CBS. In 1975, Nashville, directed by Robert Altman and starring Ned Beatty and Ronnie Blakely, is released. In 1976, Magnificent Marble Machine last airs on NBC TV. In 1977, Main Street Electrical Parade premieres in the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World. In 1982, E.T. the Extraterrestrial directed by Steven Spielberg, starring Henry Thomas and Drew Barrymore, is released. Here's a bit of music history amongst the film and television. In 1983, My Love by Lionel Richie peaked at number 5. In 1984, Michael Larson showed a winning record $110,237 on American TV game show Press Your Luck by Memorizing Patterns. In 1986, Black's Magic last airs on NBC TV. In 1988, Freedom Fest, anti-apartheid benefit, and Nelson Mandela's 70th birthday tribute concert addresses his continued imprisonment. Performers include Whitney Houston, Phil Collins, Dire Straits, Stevie Wonder, Tracy Chapman, Hugh Maskela, and Miriam Makeba, Yoshu Nador, Peter Gabriel, Al Green, Joan Amsterding, Jesse Norman, and the Eurythmics at Wembley Stadium in London, and it broadcasts to 67 countries with estimated audience of 600 million. That is a lot of people. I'll skip over the music history there for a minute. In 1993, Jurassic Park, directed by Steven Spielberg, starring Sam Neill and Jeff Goldblum, opens, sets box office weekend record of $502 million. In 1993, Scattergoers game show last airs on NBC TV. 1993, also, Scrabble Second Run TV game show last airs on NBC TV. In 1994, Meet the Flintstones by the B-52s, stylized for the release as the BC-52s, from the 1994 film The Flintstones, and it peaks at number 33. Here's a little bit of a music history. 2002, American Idol, created by Simon Fuller, with judges Simon Cowell, Paula Abdul, and Randy Jackson, premieres on Fox TV. In 2018, the 72nd Tony Awards. The bands visit Best Musical, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child Best Play. In 2019, Toy Story 4, directed by Josh Cooley with the voices of Tom Hanks and Tim Allen, has its world premiere. In 2019, comedian Jon Stewart delivers angry rebuke to Congress for the lack of funds for the 9/11 victims. Of course, the 9/11 was a big schmozzle. The Tony Awards. In 2023, the 76th Tony Awards held without script due to writer's strike. Kimberly Akimbo, Best Musical. Leopold Stead, Best Play. Jodie Comer, Best Actress. Sean Hayes, Best Actor. J. Harrison G. and Alex Newell, first out non-binary winners. And those are all the things that happened in film and television for June the 11th. And now let's look at what happened on this day for professional wrestling. As you see here is a picture of the old, well, it was actually not old, but the 2005 old days of the ECW, WWE, ECW 2.0, basically, when WWE brought it back. And let's see what happened. In 1879, in Boston, Massachusetts, Henry M. Duffer defeated James Owens to win the American Collar and Elbow Title. 1993, at the Smoky Mountain Wrestling Show in Knoxville, Tennessee, Tracy Smothers beat Dirty White Boy to win the vacant SMW Heavyweight Championship. In 1998, IWA MS in Louisville, Kentucky, Mike Sensation defeated both Blaze and Harry Palmer in a three-way match to become the IWA MS Light Heavyweight Champion. In 2012, the Great American Bash was held in Baltimore, Maryland, in front of 7,031 fans. And there's the card right there if you want to look at it briefly. In 2003, At an NWA TNA weekly pay-per-view taping in Nashville, Tennessee, AJ Styles defeated Jeff Jarrett and Raven in a three-way match to win the NWA World Heavyweight Championship for the first time. In 2005, the APW Gym Wars was held in Hayward, California. In the main event of the show, Kafud defeated Nate Rules to become the new APW Universal Heavyweight Champion. In 2005, also, multiple title changes hands at IWA MS, Something to Prove, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Josh Acroboni beats Delirious for the IWA MS Light Heavyweight title. Mickey Knuckles defeated Allison Danger and Mischief in a three-way match for the IWA MS Women's title. And then later in the show, Cell and Vito Tomaselli outlasted 5 other teams in a 6-way elimination tag team tables match to become the IWA MS Tag Team Champions. Also in 2005, at ZZW Violent by Design, synthesized Euphoria Mike Quackenbush won a three-way match against B-Boy and Sabian to win the ZZW Junior Heavyweight Championship. In 2006, WWE presented ECW One Night Stand at the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York with 2,460 fans at ringside. This was the first official revival of the ECW brand since the bankruptcy of the company in early 2001. The event was a sequel to the hugely successful original the year prior and was followed days later by the revival of ECW as a third WWE brand. It also marks the first time that Rob Van Dam won a World Championship level title in his wrestling career. And there is a look at the card for the event if you want to take a quick look at it. Also, in 2007, on an episode of Monday Night Raw, aired called Mr. McMahon Appreciation Night. The night was conceived as a way of cheering up McMahon after losing the ECW Championship to Bobby Lashley. At the end of the show, McMahon was seen walking to his limo, getting inside, and then the limo exploded. I remember all this. After Raw went off the air, WWE.com reported that McMahon had died, but the next day a press release was announced, making it obvious that it was a storyline, which angered a lot of people. Obviously, it was controversial. The angle was canceled a couple of weeks later due to the very real Chris Benoit murder-suicide tragedy. Yeah, I'm sure they'll never do that ever again. In 2009, at the FCW TV tapings in Tampa, Florida, Tyler Rex defeated Drew McIntyre to win the FCW Florida Heavyweight title. In 2011, CZW Prelude to Violence 2 was held in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. AR Fox won the CZW Wired TV title after beating Drew Gulak. In 2014, OVW TV taping was in Louisville, Kentucky, and on the show, Adam Revolver defeated Melvin Maximus by submission to become the OVW television champion. In 2016, a new NEW Big Bethany Bash was held at the NEW Arena in Bethany, Connecticut. On the show, Jimmy Preston and Mark Sherman became the new tag team champions after defeating Anthony and Chris Battle. In 2016, Andy Harner won the PWS Suicidal Six-Way title in Sayreville, New Jersey, after outlasting Brett Gaika, CJ Esperanza, David Starr, Facade, and Tony Deppen in the six-way match. In 2017, day one of AJPW Dynamite Series was held in Tokyo, Japan. The Bodyguard and Zeus defeated Kai and Kingo Mishimo to become the new AJPW World Tag Team title holders. Also in 2017, NJPW Dominion was held in Osaka, Japan. Various title changes hands on the show. And there's a look at the card right there. Of course, you got the Young Bucks, or as I call them, the Bum Yucks. Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, Kashusha defeating Hiromaru Takashi, and Kashusha Okada, Kenny Omega, obviously, and I recognize another name there, Dave Meltzer, rated the Kenny Omega and Okada match 6.25 stars out of 5. How does that make any sense? When you're rating a match with a star rating out of 5, you don't go above 5. That's common sense. Dave Meltzer should know that. But no, he is. We all know he's biased towards certain promotions. It's just the way that he is. Anyway, moving on. Notable wrestling birthdays for June 11th. We got Hikaru Shida, born in 1988. Marisigida Zadrida in 1965. And Mike Enos / Blake Beverly was born on this day, June the 11th, 1963. Now let's look at what happened on this day, on some things that happened in music for June the 11th. And there's a photo there by Everett Roberts. A big concert. Real big concert. And it's the Nelson Mandela 70th birthday tribute. We already went over that, so there's no need to go any further. And let's kick it off with this. In 1966, the Rolling Stones' Painted Black became the first #1 hit to feature a sitar. The song, which began a 2-week run at the top of the Billboard Hot 100 on this day, also reached the top spot in the UK, Canada, and the Netherlands. In 1969, the Beatles topped the UK pop chart for the 17th time with the ballad of John and Yoko. The recording only featured John Lennon and Paul McCartney. In 1977, with their single I'm Your Boogeyman, Casey and the Sunshine Band became the second group in Billboard chart history following the Jackson 5 to score 4 US #1 hits. And in 2005, Queen co-founder and guitarist Brian May was recognized for his charitable and musical contributions when he was awarded a CBE by Queen Elizabeth II. On that same day, Led Zeppelin founder and guitarist Jimmy Page was awarded an OBE. And we have quite a few birthdays in the world of music. For June 11th, we got James Pookie Hudson from the Spandals. In 1946, John Lawson from Uriah Heep. Born on this day, 1947, Richard Palmer Jones from Supertramp and King Crimson. Frank Beard from ZZ Top was born June 11th, 1949. Born in 51, Lindsay DePaul. Born in 52, Donnie Van Zandt from the 38 Special. Born on this day in 1961, Robert Birch from Stereo MCs. Penny Ford from Snap was born June 11th, 64. In 1969, Stephen Drozd from Flaming Lips. And Kodak Black was born June 11th, 1997. And those are the birthdays and some of the things that happened on this day in music. Now let's look at some of the things that happened in the world of pulp culture. June 11th is Corn on the Cob Day, German Chocolate Cake Day, Making Life Beautiful Day, so make this life beautiful, Outlet Shopping Day, and World Gin Day. Let's see what we have here. In 323 BC, Alexander the Great died in the palace of Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon. If I pronounced that incorrectly, let me know. I have a feeling I did. I know I did. In 1509, Henry Henry VIII of England married Catherine of Aragon. In 1742, Benjamin Franklin invented the Franklin stove. He chose not to patron it In 1793, Robert Hitterick was issued the patent X000063 for a stove design of cast iron. In 1837, the Broad Street riot occurred in Boston, fueled by ethnic tensions between Yankees and Irish. Those damn Yankees. In 1895, Charles S. Duria was granted the first U.S. patent, number 54648, for a gasoline-driven automobile. In 1949, Hank Williams Sr. debuted at the Grand Ole Opry. In 1955, 83 spectators were killed, and at least 100 were injured after an Austin Healey and a Mercedes-Benz collided at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the deadliest car accident in motor sports. I hate to have known. In 1962, Frank Morris, John Anglin, and Clarence Anglin allegedly became the only prisoners to escape from the prison of Alcatraz Island. That's insane. They were never seen again after escaping on an inflatable raft. How was that possible? I have no idea. In 1963, Fetchit, Mayor, Chilton Blanchard, Killett, Hammock, and Johnson were granted the patent for NASA for the Mercury space capsule. In 1963, Alabama Governor George Wallace stood at the door of Foster Auditorium at the University of Alabama in an attempt to block two black students, Vivian Malone and James Hood, from attending the school. Yeah, 1963. Well, racism was a big thing back then. Number one hit, June 11th from 1966 to June 24th, 1966, the Rolling Stones Painted Black. And also number one hit, June 11th, 1977, from June 17th, 1977, Casey and the Sunshine Band, I'm Your Boogeyman. In 1979, actor John Wayne died after a decade-long fight with cancer. In 1982, E.T. the Extraterrestrial in Grease 2 was released in theaters. In 1986, Ferris Bueller's Day Off was released in theaters. The rare Ferrari 250 GT Spider California was not destroyed in the film. In 1993, Jurassic Park and What's Love Got to Do with It debuts in theaters. In 1999, Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me was released in theaters. In 2001, Timothy McVeigh was executed for his role in the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing. In 2002, American Auto premiered on Fox. Also in 2002, Antonio Mercury was acknowledged as the first inventor of the telephone by the United States Congress. His 1871 patent was not as detailed as Alexander Graham Bell's 1876 patent. And in 2004, Napoleon Dynamite Garfield, the movie The Stepford Wives, and The Chronicles of Riddick debuts in theaters. And in 2010, The A-Team and The Karate Kid was also released in theaters. And that's all the stuff that happened in the world of pulp culture. And I do believe it is time for the main event. We're about almost 34 minutes in, and let's do this. So one of the things that I like to do for certain episodes of the Rock Out Wild Show is go over something that's a little bit more closer to a personal type of thing, like a life type of thing. And I've sort of done this before. I've done it with learning how to present yourself, going through a job, and like basically how to present yourself in a job interview, how to prepare for a job interview. Also, I also went over things like speeches, how to prepare speeches and be presentable, performing speeches in front of a crowd. So this is something that I like to do a little bit more often for the Rock Out Wild Show. So let's do this. Self-reflection is something that I've been doing for the past 2 to 3 years now. And yeah, it's actually pretty good. It's actually productive. And a lot of it I've actually done on this device that I'm working on right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to present something to you all. And I'm going to read some of this, maybe probably all of it. And it has to do with self-reflection and what is self-reflection and things of that nature. So this is a blog that was posted roughly around, it was March 25th, and it's journaling tips and resources. And on top here, it's really self-reflection 101. What is self-reflection? Why is reflection important, and how to reflect? And I will read some of this ready for you all. So simply put, self-reflection, also known as personal reflection, is taking the time to think about, meditate on, evaluate, and give serious thought to your behaviors, thoughts, attitudes, motivations, and desires. It's the process of diving deep into your thoughts and emotions and motivations and determining the great why behind them. Personal reflection allows you to analyze your life from both a macro and micro level. At a macro level, you can evaluate the overall trajectory of your life. You can see where you're headed, determine whether you're happy with the direction, and make adjustments as necessary. At a micro level, you can evaluate your responses to particular circumstances and events. Jill Bowring, PhD, talks about personal reflection like this. Reflection is a deeper form of learning that allows us to retain every aspect of every experience, be it personal or professional, why something took place, what the impact was, whether it should happen again, as opposed to just remembering that it happened. It's about tapping into every aspect of the experience, clarifying our thinking, and honing in on what really matters to us. Practicing self-reflection takes discipline and intentionally. It requires pressing pause on the chaos of life and simply taking the time to think and ponder about your life, which is not an easy thing for many people to do, but it's an incredibly valuable practice. This is, again, going back to what I said earlier, this is something I've been doing on and off in my head for the past couple of years. I'm going to skip the video and I'm just going to read on through the importance of self-reflection. So, without self-reflection, we simply go through life without thinking, moving from one thing to the next without making time to evaluate whether things are actually going well. We don't pause to think, to analyze, to determine what is going well and what isn't working. The unfortunate result is that we often get stuck. For example, a lack of personal reflection may lead to us staying in a job we don't like or a relationship that isn't going well. Now, before I go any further, I will say this. I love the job that I'm working with, and I wouldn't mind staying in that job where I am in my position right now. Sure, there'll be a time where I like to evolve through that, but I'm there for a good 5-6 years now, and again, having that job in that field that I actually love, it really helps me mentally. Let's read on here. A lack of reflection causes us to simply keep running, trying to keep up with things, even if things are going well. We feel like we're simply trying to keep our heads above water. We end up doing the same things over and over again. I am guilty of that as well, even if those things are producing the results we hope for. The benefits of self-reflection. Yes, taking time for self-reflection can be difficult. It can be challenging to take the necessary time to step back and reflect on what truly matters. Nevertheless, there are numerous wonderful benefits of self-destruction, and we should all make time for it. Self-reflection, I mean. It allows you to gain perspective. Emotions can cloud your judgment, and you can lose sight of what truly matters. Some things seem bigger and worse than they truly are, when they're probably not. One of the things I like to do is I like to enjoy the little things a lot more than I did years ago. So I think that helps too. Moving on as well. Self-reflection allows you to take a step back and gain perspective on what matters and what can be ignored. It allows you to process events and achieve clarity on them. It also helps you respond more effectively. Most of the time, we simply react to whatever circumstances come our way. This can lead to us saying and doing things we regret. That is something I'm also a little bit guilty of. When we're in a reactive mode, we don't take the necessary time to consider our actions and words. Personal reflection allows you to consider the consequences of your words and actions. It also enables you to consider the best, most effective, most helpful ways to act in a given situation. It promotes learning and understanding. When we go through life without pausing to think and reflect, we don't learn or gain a deeper understanding of life. We simply move from one thing to the next, never pausing to consider what valuable lessons we might learn. Self-reflection, on the other hand, enables us to evaluate the process of what we've experienced. It allows us to think deeply and ponder the meaning of our circumstances, emotions, and motivations. It enables us to live holistic, integrated, and healthy lives. So this is the part we're getting to self-assessment sample here. So how exactly do you perform self-reflection? How do you appropriately and helpfully reflect on yourself in your life? And my answer for that is a lot of it goes through my head. Some of it I jot down as well. And let's read a little bit further. One easy way to perform the self-reflection exercise is to use a journal. Again, that's something that I have on here. Or a print journal, an online journal. And that's what I use. Simply write out these questions and then take your time to thoughtfully answer them. Make sure that you don't rush. Pause and ponder. Think deeply about what truly matters to you. First, determine the period of time you plan to look back on. Do you want to look back on last week, last month, last year, or the last 5 years? Then begin by taking stock of what actually happened during this period. If you already keep a journal, this step will be easier for you and perhaps a solid reminder of the value of keeping a journal. Take a look through your planner, journal, and photos and list out the highlights and lowlights. And if you're stuck, here are a few tips. Did you travel anywhere this year? Experience any personal or family milestones? What changed in your relationships, work, or passion projects? Look back at your new list of highlights and lowlights. Try and see if there are any patterns. Do your highlights generally involve certain people in your life or any specific activities? It can be difficult to revisit lowlights, but it is also a great way to find peace and growth. For each lowlight, ask yourself, was this within my control? If yes, ask yourself what you may do differently next time. And if no, ask yourself how you may find peace within it. Write down both the highlights and lowlights in your journal. then take the time to reflect. What things do you want to accomplish over the next month, the next year, or in the next 5 years? What do you want to change about your life? What things can you improve on? Take the time to walk through these exercises will help bring clarity and perspective to your life. And here's the guide for self-assessment. And looking back at your chosen time period, rate yourself on a scale of -5 to +5 on each of the following 6 areas of your life. After selecting a number, write what makes you feel that way. Expressing the emotions and feelings that you have is a great way to have a deeper and more meaningful reflection. Your mind, do you feel clear-headed, engaged, and intellectually challenged? Within your body, does your body feel healthy? Are you nourished and are you strong? Your soul, do you feel at peace and connected to the world around you? I can answer that by saying yes. I do feel at peace. Work, do you feel interested and fulfilled by your work? Again, absolutely, I would too. Play, do you feel joyful? Are you engaging in activities that bring you joy? I'm working on this Rock Out Wild episode 24. This is something I love to do. This brings me joy. Love, do you feel positive about the relationships in your life? And that I would say with a resounding yes. Don't rush through this self-assessment. Take the necessary time to reflect on each area of your life. If you rush, you'll miss out on the value of self-reflection. Now, all these questions, but before I go any further, all these questions, I've actually looked at this before, and I really, really planned out all these things. So, I was just doing the basic summary of how I answer, but I actually took the time to really think about the mind, the body, the soul, the work, the play, and the love. I'll skip the video. Self-reflection questions to ask yourself here. What are good questions for self-reflection? Self-reflection questions are powerful tools you can wield to inspire and empower you to discover your own inner truth. Still, it's often hard to know where to start. Be gentle with yourself. Question asking is a skill to develop like anything else, and that takes time and practice. But the more questions you ask, the easier it will get. Here are some questions for self-reflection. If you could change anything about your childhood, what would it be? What is something creative you did when you were younger that you no longer do? Why don't you do it anymore? What's your superpower? What type of things have you collected in the past? Movie stubs. I still have them. Use these questions as a starting point to come up with your own. You know yourself best, and your best self-reflection questions are just under the surface, waiting for you to ask them. And I'm going to go back just a little bit, and I'll actually answer some of these on this episode, even though I've done these before. If you could change anything about your childhood, what would it be? I wouldn't really change a thing at all. I really wouldn't. What is something creative you did when you were younger that you no longer do, and why don't you do it anymore? I used to write songs or write poetry, and why don't I do it anymore? I think I might have lost interest in actually writing songs. Now I mainly just listen to songs, and it's like a newfound interest for me. And your superpower, that's a hard one to answer because that's one you really have to think about. So let's move on here. When should you practice self-reflection? There are a number of times when self-reflection is particularly helpful. First, it can be useful to do for a few minutes each week. You don't have to go through all of the questions or take hours to do it. Focus on what has been on your mind that particular week. It can also be helpful to practice self-reflection as an end of the month personal review, an end of year personal review. In other words, at the end of each month and year, do an in-depth personal review of your life. Look back over the previous days and months and analyze your life. This practice will provide you with a helpful perspective and ensure that you are living life to the fullest. Don't live the unexamined life. When we fail to reflect on our lives, we lose perspective, get caught up in things that don't matter, and often lose sight of the things that are most important. Scorchers was right when he said that the unexamined life isn't worth living. Don't live in an unexamined life. Practice self-reflection today. Interested in developing your reflection practice? We built Reflection app. And then there's the app there that helps you capture your highlights and lowlights as they happen and shares back your entries to your 4 guided reflection at the end of each month and year. And that's pretty much everything I wanted to go over in this article. There are other things as well I wouldn't mind going over one day for a future episode of the Rock Out Wild Show, like how to conduct a personal monthly review, the power of journaling for self-compassion, and the ultimate guide to couples journaling for improved, whatever the case that might be. So I'm going to stop sharing, and that is my whole spiel on self-reflection. And that has been episode 24 of the Rock Out Wild Show. I'm going to end this episode with a quote from Perspective of the Day. Missing loved ones who are no longer with us can be increasingly challenging. Whoa. Hang on. Here we go. I'm going to present to you all with a quote from Perspective of the Day, and it goes something like this. Everything that has happened in your life, every twist and turn, every success and setback has led you to this moment. Trust that everything is meant to happen for a reason. Even if it may not always be clear at first, embrace the journey, knowing that each experience has shaped you into the resilient and wise person you are today. Your path is uniquely yours, filled with lessons and opportunities for growth. Have faith in the universe's plan for you and remember that you are exactly where you are meant to be. Trust in the beauty of your own journey. And this has been episode 24 of the Rock Out Wild Show, and I'm your host, Just Mike. On a final note, to all of you watching and listening to this all around the world, get plenty of rest and always do your best.